Have you ever met someone who says they just sit in silence for fun? Yeah, 10 years ago, that sounded like medieval torture to me. Like, silence on purpose, you say? Who on earth hurt you? The truth is, most high performers don't fear silence because it's boring. We fear it because we don't know what might show up when things finally get quiet. When there are no podcasts, no playlists, no endless scrolling to distract ourselves, we start hearing the noise we've been trying to outrun. And let me tell you, that noise gets loud when you stop running. Hi, welcome to the Wolverine Lifestyle Podcast, where personal growth meets deep thought and introspection. I am your host, Dylan Andres, and in this episode, we are exploring my personal journey through the journal prompt, creating a vision for inner peace. What does a peaceful life look like to you? How can you take small steps every day to move forward to that vision? 10 years ago, if you asked me what peace looked like, I wouldn't have had an answer. Not because my life was that chaotic on the outside, but because my mind was never quiet on the inside. Silence made me antsy. I always had headphones in. I always had a playlist on standby. I thought it was because I loved music. And don't get me wrong, I do, but now I know better. I was using sound as a distraction, a way to drown out the internal noise, and I know I'm not alone in this. So many of us are walking around with noise in our heads that nobody else can hear, that anxious narrator that questions everything. Did I say the wrong thing? Am I doing enough? Why can't I just be happy with where I'm at? This kind of mental static becomes normal for high achievers. We don't even notice it. We just call it being productive, ambitious, dialed in. Well, let me ask you this. What would it feel like to not have to earn your peace? You see, I used to think that peace meant no thoughts, like some spiritual guru sitting on a rock in lotus pose with zero internal monologue. But now I understand something far more real. Peace isn't the absence of brain noise. It's the ability to navigate that noise. There was a study done by Harvard that showed the average mind wanders 47% of the time. Let that sink in. Nearly half of our lives are spent mentally elsewhere, which means inner peace isn't about perfection, it's about presence. It's about having the tools to return to the moment, not escape the storm, but learning how to shelter within it or navigate the rubble while moving through it. These days, when the noise flares up, I don't immediately reach for a distraction, I reach for my toolkit. Breath work, weight training, meditation, a walk outside, even play. Yes, play is a tool. Oh, I also started doing this weird flashing light therapy. It works very similar to EMDR. Because the truth is, we don't control when chaos shows up, but we control how we decide to meet it. We don't need to eliminate every anxious thought. We need to stop letting them run the show. Let me ask you this. What would shift in your life if you stopped trying to get rid of the noise and instead learned how to respond to it differently? If you asked me today what a peaceful life looks like, it wouldn't be a zero stimuli vacuum. It would be intentional, grounded, purposeful. Picture this. I wake up with the sun, not to check emails, but to create, to build this brand, this mission that helps people come back home to themselves. Then once work is done, I step outside into the forest, a cabin in the mountains, if you will, a lake or a river close by, not off grid for the sake of disappearing, but for the sake of simplicity. I imagine afternoons filled with hands-on work, solving real problems for myself, chopping wood, building something, tending to animals, homesteading, simple living. Because the kind of noise that comes with simplicity, it sits differently in the mind. It doesn't feel like a wall of pressure. It feels like presence. And no, I'm not there yet, but I'm getting closer. And that's the point. Moving the needle 1% every day. Here's where it gets real. That vision I just shared, it won't magically appear in one day like Amazon Prime just dropped it off. Peace is not a destination. It's not something we stumble into after burnout. It's something we build through practice. Here are the steps that I am taking almost daily. Practicing cold exposure to teach my body to stay calm under pressure. Journaling to ensure that I remain connected to me. Weight training to stay grounded in strength. Meditation to practice stillness without judgment. Breath work to regulate my nervous system. And maybe most importantly, scheduling play to remember what it feels like to be alive. Some days I don't do all of these. Other days when the noise is exceptionally loud, I might do all of them twice. These are not things I do because I have it all together. These are things that I do so I don't fall apart. Because I realized if I don't teach myself what peace feels like, how will I know when I'm headed toward it? We all have a version of peace that feels right in our bones. For some, it's a beach house. For others, it's a bustling family. For me, it's a cabin, quiet mornings, creative expression, and a space to build something meaningful. What's yours? And are you practicing it, even in small ways today? Oh, and while we're on the topic of you, if you're anything like the clients that I work with, and I say this with love, you're probably amazing at holding it all together for everyone else. You're a high performer. You get shit done. You're the one people count on. But here's what I see beneath the surface. You're exhausted from constantly doing. You overthink every decision and replay every conversation. You feel like you're never fully turned off. Even your rest has a productivity checklist. Does this sound familiar? Well, here's the shift. Peace isn't found in another achievement. It's found in the permission to feel safe being still. That's the work we do together. We don't just build confidence in your relationships. We rebuild trust in your inner world. We create a vision of success that includes you, and that includes your peace. So what does a peaceful life look like to you? Is it quiet mornings and deep breaths, or belly laughs and spontaneous road trips? The vision is yours to create, but the path there, that starts today in tiny, intentional choices. One cold shower, one boundary set, one moment of play, one deep, full breath. The more you practice peace, the easier it is to recognize it when it finally arrives. because peace isn't something you earn when you've fixed everything. It's something you create by showing up to your life a little more fully each and every day. And we're doing this together. If this episode stirred something in you, if it reminded you of the version of yourself you want to get back to, here's your next move. Take 5 minutes today. No music, no scrolling, just you. Ask yourself, what does peace feel like to me? Then screenshot this episode, share your vision for peace in your story on Instagram or Facebook, and tag me at coach.wolverine. I'd love to see what your version of the cabin in the woods looks like. As always, thank you for joining me for this episode of the Wolverine Lifestyle Podcast. If it resonated with you, don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share this with someone who needs the reminder that peace isn't earned through perfection. It's practiced through presence. One breath, one choice, one moment at a time. And if you're ready to take a step further into your own self-exploration journey, grab my free ebook, 30 Days to Know Yourself. The link will be in the show notes, along with all of the other links to the rest of my socials and resources. Until next time, remember, you don't find peace by outrunning the noise. You find it by learning to turn down the volume and finally hearing your own voice.